students here today joining from Homerton can introduce themselves one by one, and if you can let them know what year you're in and what subject you're studying, that would be really great. I might just call on you so that there's not an awkward silence. So Charlotte, do you want to introduce yourself, please?
Hello, I am Charlotte, and I'm studying study of history, languages and literatures of the early medieval period, and I am a second year student.
Sorry. Can we go to Afopi?
Hi, I'm Afopa. I'm a second year law student.
Thank you. And Ahmed?
Hi, I'm Ahmed. I'm a third year chemical engineering student.
And Lucy?
Hi, I'm Lucy. I'm a first year MML, and the two languages I'm doing are French and Latin.
And just for clarification, that's modern and medieval languages. It can be easy at Cambridge to get used to the acronyms, but people who are joining might have no idea what that is. Valentina.
Hi, I'm Valentina. I'm a second year doing English.
Okay, Vita.
Hi, hi. My name's Vita. I'm a second year studying education, English, drama, and the arts.
Thank you. And Ben?
Hi, I'm Ben, and I'm studying education with psychology and learning, and I'm a third year.
Thank you. And Anna?
Hi, I'm Anna, and I'm also a second year education, psychology and learning student.
And then Lydia?
Hey, my name's Lydia, and I'm doing the same as Anna, education and psychology in second year.
And Mikkel?
Hello, I'm a third year. I do medicine, and I'm also doing psychology this year.
Thank you. And Aman?
Hi, I'm Aman. I'm a second year physics student, and I do natural sciences.
Thank you. And I think that's everyone. Yeah. Okay, so there's loads of students here today, as you can see, which is really nice. So it's an amazing opportunity for you guys to meet students, get to ask them anything that you want to know. So I think we'll start with the first question here. And anyone can feel free to just unmute and answer that question. Can you get into Cambridge without all A's and A stars at GCSE?
Yeah, I'll go for this one. Yeah, 100% you can do. It's kind of your A levels that matter more when you're applying. Like they'll look at your GCSEs, but I had like everything from A stars to C's. So like, yeah, you really don't need to have like A stars and A's across your entire GCSEs to get in.
I want to, yeah, second that. I also didn't have A's to A stars. I got, what was it, 5s, 6s. So like, it really doesn't matter so much as your GCSEs do, or just look at your application as a whole.
Also, if I'm sure some of you are aware of many of the famous Cambridge and Oxford YouTubers that exist. One of them, Ibsmo, for example, I think he basically failed all his GCSEs, but then got like A stars at A level, and he's in Cambridge, or well, was. And basically, yeah, GCSEs, not to say that you shouldn't work hard at them, but they're not the most important thing in the world. And especially, for example, if you had like extenuating circumstances or specific valid reasons as to why your GCSEs didn't go too well. But also if you've done quite badly in your GCSEs, but then like amazing in your A levels, that also shows a lot of progress. So arguably that's also to some extent a good thing. So yeah, it really doesn't, they do look at it, but it's not that big of a deal really.
Okay, thank you. Got another question. It is about medicine, so it might be relevant for you, Mikkel. Are you at a disadvantage for applying for medicine if you did not take 3 sciences?
Yeah, so there's, I think I should know this off by heart. This is quite bad. It's been quite long. There is a minimum requirement, so I think you need at least 2. Is the minimum, but not necessarily, so you're not disadvantaged in like your application, presumably, although I'm not an admissions officer, but I would say it would make it harder whilst you're in university, just because you won't have some of the skills that you might need. Obviously, biology, I think chemistry is the only mandatory one you have to have, but biology obviously is also extremely useful. And again, if you don't have like maths or physics, then some parts of the course, like to do with, you know, statistics or like calculations in certain papers might be a bit more difficult. So I would say it would make it harder once you're here. I don't know if it necessarily affects the admissions process because I don't know, I'm not an expert on how that works. But also I would also say that you do also need to enjoy your A level. So if you know you're going to like absolutely hate maths, for example, then take, like I did psychology in my A levels, for example, and I loved it and it was so much fun. So I would say that, you know, it's better to get the grades in 3 A levels than to do an A level just because you feel like you have to and then hate it and then not get the grades.
Okay, thank you. Somebody says, why should we choose to go to Cambridge?
Let's answer this. So you should choose to go to Cambridge if you feel like, first of all, if it feels right to you, if you like the look of the course and things, and you like the idea of supervisions, which personally I do, and I find them really useful, because you can have some like great supervisors, and it is quite a unique experience to be able to sit with this expert who might be your lecturer or might just be like a PhD student who's really involved in the subject, and you get to sit with them for like an hour in the week just going through questions and going through everything that you might be unsure about. So it really does push you, and if you're interested in the course and the subject, then it's a really nice opportunity to get to go that bit further and find out as much as you can about your subject.
Thank you. Did anyone have anything? Oh yeah, Charlotte, I think you're raising your hand.
I was just going to say, in Cambridge, you get to study subjects that you have never studied before. For instance, Anglo-Saxon, North and Celtic is the only is a course that's only offered at Cambridge, and you get to do these fascinating subjects that you don't learn at school. Maybe you do a little bit of medieval history in year 7 or year 12, that is, but then you really get to choose and study your passion for your entire life, and those 3 years especially.
Thank you. What about Vita?
Similarly to Charlotte, I study a subject that is not on offer in the same way at other universities, and I think you can see from the preponderance of education students on this call that we enjoy it, and we can, you know, that there's something special, like there's something special about education and doing it here that makes people, you know, I want people to know about it and to know that it's an option for people. You know, I'd recommend looking at the courses that are available that are related to the ones that you're interested in, as well as the ones that you think you're set on, because you might discover that there's something that's right up your alley that you hadn't even thought about. Education at Cambridge is a really interdisciplinary study. I study sociology, philosophy, history, psychology, sociolinguistics, and I get to study English and drama, so it's such a mix. And I know other people doing courses like psychological and behavioural sciences, and I can't remember all of what HSPS stands for. Historical. Do you know, Lindsay?
Human, social and political sciences.
Yeah, human, social and political sciences. So loads of people here get to do a real range. And also, if you like nerding out unabashedly, I'd recommend it, because even if you think supervision, that sounds intense, what that means is you have access to someone who's interested in what you're interested in for an hour of their time, and you get to talk with them and learn from them. And if you think that sounds cool, then think about it.
Yeah, I was also just going to say that it's important to think about the subject you want to do, but then also look at how it differs potentially at Cambridge. So I do law, and law is a subject you can do at almost any university, but the breadth and the optional modules I'm afforded here is different to maybe a different university where I won't be able to pick as many options across the 3 years of my course. So I think being able to recognize the differences in what your course would be like here at Cambridge as opposed to a different university is quite important to look at, because again, it often lends to you having a lot more breadth and option because of the type of sort of lectures we have here. So yeah.
Thanks. I think there was another one for you, Philip. How did you prepare for the interviews? Somebody wanted to ask you specifically, maybe because they're interested in law.
How did I prepare? Okay, I would say, I know it's a cliche to say know your personal statement, but knowing your personal statement inside and out can be quite important, because like I was asked about a specific line I'd written about in my personal statement. So that was the first question I was asked, sort of why I said that and what it meant to me. I would say reading just opinion piece articles and then trying to have an intellectual debate with yourself about a certain topic is the best thing to do. But there's only so much preparation you can do. I think just having a very calm and focused approach on how you actually perform in the interview itself is the best thing to sort of do, because some people might have a lot of knowledge about law beforehand, but not be able to convey that in an interview format. So just trying to put yourself in situations where you're constantly debating about potential topics, like in the news, I think would just be good ways to prepare. But I would caveat all of that by saying there's only so much you can prepare, and they genuinely just want to see a passion from you. So if you're picking law because you genuinely enjoy it, then just continue to read up on areas you enjoy. Yeah.
Thanks. And there's another question that I think is relevant for everyone. How did you find settling into Cambridge? What was the pastoral care like? Yeah, go ahead. Just unmute yourself and answer.
Yeah. So I was a bit nervous at the start because it was sort of the new experience of, oh, I'm at university and I haven't had to sort of make new friends again properly since like start of secondary school, but everybody is in the same boat. You know, nobody when you come to university really knows many other people here, and you just sort of end up probably like making friends with people from your household or who you live with and things, but also just from your department and stuff. And in terms of pastoral care, we are really lucky here to have what we call tutors. And so they're members of staff or academics who don't have anything to do with your subject, but we'll just sort of have a meeting with you once a term and ask about how you're doing aside from work and things. They can apply for extensions and things for you for deadlines, but they will look after you on every account other than work, and then you've got your director of studies to sort of deal with academic issues. But yeah, and there's also counselling and support and welfare teams and a lot of support if you need it. Yeah.
To talk a little bit more about the experience of settling in and also needing support to do that. I was entering Cambridge feeling really nervous about my ability to make friends, also entering as a disabled student who knew that the transition to university was going to be really difficult, and I'd taken some time to kind of work on some skills that I'd need for that. And I recommend, if you know that you're going to struggle with cooking for yourself and that's something you want to be able to do, having some practice of that over the years ahead of going to uni is a good idea. But what I will say is that being in a college in some respects makes things particularly easy in terms of settling into university, because of the availability of other people, because we live and work together, and we're all in the same place. Freshers Week is a great way of getting to know people, but not everyone finds their people immediately, and Freshers Week is kind of nicely structured so that you can get to meet a lot of people. It's not like you have to be like, I know that I'm going to these events. You just get told you can come to these events and everyone's invited. And doing that meant I got to meet a lot of people, but I also didn't have energy for all of those events, and that's okay. There's time to meet people all the time. If you are a disabled student and you're particularly worried about the transition to university and settling in and the specific supports you might need as a disabled student, the Disability Resource Centre is available to talk to, And also if you go through Disabled Students Allowance or contact directly the Disability Resource Centre, you can arrange something called mentoring, and that's something that quite helped me in my first term of kind of figuring out how to manage the life skills and the social side of things, because I just needed someone to talk to and kind of figure that out with a little bit more structured support. So yeah.
Thanks. Okay, I think we'll move on to another one that also, if you are typing, but then it's been answered out loud, feel free to kind of, what is it called, to write answer live, and then it moves on to the answered side, just so that it's easier to manage the questions. We're going to go for, do you have time to partake in extracurricular activities such as sports or drama alongside your studies? Go ahead.
I'm gonna jump in. You definitely do. I took a gap year before coming to uni, and I was like, I love being busy, and I was a bit nervous because you hear all these stories about how hard the workload is at Cambridge, and there is a lot, but like this year, for example, I'm doing bits with the Students' Union in the college. I'm part of the May Ball, which is this event we have at the end of Easter term, which is where we have our exams. I'm sorry if you can hear the aeroplane next to me. And also rowing. I'm part of the rowing club that essentially I spend a lot of time not doing my degree, but can still manage to meet all my deadlines, stay calm about it all, and also, yeah, enjoy living in and around Cambridge instead of just in, a textbook. But yeah, you definitely can.
Yeah, also as a STEM student and someone who does medicine, because I'm doing psychology just for this year, but my degree is medicine. Yeah, I do quite a lot of things. To be fair, I should probably do less and spend more time on my degree. But like, you really can have time to have fun. Like I've done choir every year since my first year. I've done quite a few. Yeah, the aeroplane again. Sorry. I've done quite a few different plays and comedy shows and various things like that. I've tried a couple of different sports. I did rowing for a bit. I've done various other different sports at different points. Yeah, I've done lots of fun things, which has been really, really nice. And you definitely can have time to have fun. Again, it really depends on the individual, because obviously you have to do the work that you're set, but then it's also kind of up to you how much extra work you want to do above that. And also, it's again also dependent on time management, as Vita was saying, like the mentoring scheme, for example, is really, really helpful with things like that, and other kind of support that the Disability Resource Centre can offer. But if you're able to have good time management and be organised, then yeah, it's definitely possible to do lots and lots of fun things.
And just to add on to that as well, there's loads of extracurricular things, societies you can join that are really low commitment. So you can just, go a week if you want. And then if the next week you think, oh, I'm really tired, I'm not going to go tonight, like they won't be chasing you being like, where were you? You can just go as and when you want. But then there are also things that you can commit to, give more time to if you want. And there's such a big range of things you can join. Like when I was at the Freshers' Fair, I was amazed at how many different societies there were, how many new sports I could try. So yeah, there's definitely time to do stuff outside of your degree.
And did you want to say anything, Lydia, before we move on?
I just wanted to say, basically, as soon as Lucy said low commitment, I was like, oh yeah, that's what I was going to say. Just the fact that it doesn't need to be like really full on, the fact that you do loads of different clubs and things. If you're just feeling like you want to do something as a one-off, like, oh, I'll try this society or something, people are very open to that as well. And yeah, if you don't fancy going to a certain club that you normally go to because you're tired or for whatever reason, it's not like, for a lot of different societies, it's not like it's not high commitment, or it's not like too strict. You can stay at home if you want, or you can do it. So I think it's quite nice in that way. It sort of depends on what like society you join. There's some that are a bit more like commitment than others, but you can choose that yourself once you get here, and there's a lot to choose from.
Thanks. Did anyone else want to say anything before I move on? Okay. Yep.
Oh, no, wait, I was going to answer the next question.
Another question? Yeah, go ahead.
Because there's quite a few about why and how did you choose Homerton in the college system. So it doesn't actually matter in terms of your studies, what college you choose. Everyone at each of the colleges goes to the same lectures, and you'll have the same amount of supervisions, and you'll sit the same exams. So it doesn't really make a difference in that regard. It does, however, sort of decide where you'll be living in your time here. So a big factor in choosing is your accommodation, though every college does offer their students accommodation. It's just what kind of college you want to live in, sort of what amenities and things you like. I chose Homerton because it was a bit further out from the city centre, and it gives that separation a little bit more of like, I'm not a huge fan of living in the middle of the sort of city, and also just because it's nice, big and green. So yeah.
With regards to choosing colleges, I know, I mean, I had a spreadsheet of pros and cons of different colleges, things I liked about them, things I didn't. I know some of my friends literally just picked one on the vibe that they got. Going to open days is also quite a good way of, you know, seeing if you like the vibe, seeing if you like the location and what the college is like. But equally, I didn't really go to many tours or open days and stuff because it was all COVID. So I just got the information off the website. So have a bit of a dig on the different websites for the colleges, and that might help as well.
And Ben, I know you haven't said much, so I'll give you a chance.
Yeah, so I was going to say that there's like quite a few factors which led me to choosing Homerton. So one of the first ones is the fact that for me and like a lot of other education students, I'm guessing, Homerton College is the closest college to our faculty, which is where we go for like lectures, where our libraries and stuff, which is right next door to Homerton. So that's very handy. And one thing I'd say to look into for when choosing colleges is to look at how far away the faculty of your department is from your college, just to make sure you're okay with doing that commute there and back for lectures. Because they're not always like recorded or online. And then another reason why I chose Homerton, for me personally, because I come from like rural West Wales, Homerton has a very high intake of state school students. So for me personally, there's nothing against students who obviously came from private schools and grammar schools and stuff. But I personally wanted to be somewhere where I felt like more comfortable. So that was another main reason why I chose it. Another one is Homerton has quite nice green space. So we've got an orchard, quite nice grounds and stuff. So it's nice to be able to go for a walkabout and not feel closed in and quite as claustrophobic as some other colleges might be, which can come across like quite daunting and stuff. So yeah, those are the main reasons why I chose Homerton.
Thanks. And then Charlotte, and then we'll move on to another question.
Yes, I just wanted to add a little bit about Homerton itself and the college system. I think you should choose a college based on the facilities and what you want from it. For example, Homerton is a catered college where we have breakfast, lunch and dinner on most days. And I personally knew that I wasn't going to cook. So I always had that stability of going back to the hall and have food. And also coming to the question, I think somebody asked, what is the best college? There is no such thing as the best college. It just depends which college you want to go to, and again what facilities it has. Obviously some colleges like Trinity, St. John's, they're better known for the Cambridge colleges, and they might be a little bit more traditional than Homerton is. For example, you have to wear gowns to formals, and Homerton does not require that. And I always say a college is where you eat, sleep and socialize in, so it doesn't really matter which college you end up into, and Homerton is just very friendly, and I think it's known as the most friendly college at Cambridge, so we got that advantage.
the catering thing, because I think it's even better with Homerton, because if you don't want to cook yourself, which is fair enough, then you can yeah, we've got the hall and we've got the buttery, which is like you can get sandwiches and you can get coffee and stuff from there. But you can all, like, we've got, they're called gyp rooms, which is like a little kitchen basically. You've got a hob, you've got a microwave, kettle and everything. So you can make a lot of stuff yourself if you want to do that. So there's the flexibility, and you can basically you get a card once you're here and you can top it up with money if you decide you want to buy something from the hall. Like, it's really nice that we do brunch on Saturdays, or just, I think, basically breakfast throughout the week. And we do roast dinner as well at the minute, which is really nice on Sundays. So yeah, it's sort of like you've got a choice yourself whether you want to cook for yourself or not. And I think that makes it even nicer that you can decide day to day.
Thanks. Ahmed, did you want to answer a different question or just add to that?
It's sort of a different question that's sort of related to that about the distance with Homerton and commuting and things. Cambridge is actually quite a small city, so in comparison to Doncaster, where I'm from, it is actually quite small. So we sort of have, you might have seen, like, we're quite far out from the city centre, but that is a 10-minute bus ride from the city centre, or equally a 10 to 15-minute cycle. We are really not that far away from most things, and I'd say the buses here, it's £1 for a single bus sort of anywhere. It's not that hard to sort of commute around Cambridge and things. And I've got friends who sort of, Homerton is the furthest college from, like, my department, for instance, but my friends sort of cycle there fine. And also, if you, for any accessibility reasons or otherwise, find commuting around a bit difficult, you don't have to factor that into the college that you choose if you don't want to, because you can just get all the support that you need. DSA funding, like Peter talked about earlier, and things that will pay for taxis if you need accessibility, if you need them for accessibility reasons, etc. Yeah, commuting is really not that big a thing in Cambridge because it's quite tiny.
Yeah, Ben, go ahead.
Hi, sorry, just wanted to clarify one thing really quickly. So sorry if someone's already said it and I'm repeating it, but yeah, just to make sure that everyone knows, the food for, like, breakfast, lunch and dinner, you do have to pay for it though. Like, it's not included in your bill. Because I know we're all saying, like, you can just go there to eat, but you do have to pay for it. So yeah, it's not for, like, free or anything. So there's relatively good options and stuff, and I think it's reasonably priced, but yeah, you do still have to pay. So.
And it's also a reduced price for students compared to, like, anyone walking in as well. I just saw a few, like, kind of admissions-y ones, so I will just quickly say that our different colleges are harder to get into because they all have different acceptance rates. So I'd say please don't worry about all that you see, like the acceptance rates in all different places. Actually, it's much more about the subjects have different acceptance rates than the colleges, and it completely depends. Like, it could be that in 1 year there's many more people who applied, I don't know, for engineering to Homerton than in another year, and yeah, or something different. But actually, we have something called the pooling system, where if somebody's really, really good and they've applied to a college, but that college doesn't have space for them that year, they will still get considered by other colleges. So the answer basically is no, don't take that as your reason to choose a college rather than another one. And then another admissions question was, just need to find it again. Which stage of the process, of the application process, has the most significant impact on whether you're considered for a place? It's a bit like my answer to the other one, really, which is there isn't a specific stage which has a bigger impact. I think that's the advantage of the really holistic application process that Cambridge has. We have so many different parts of it that actually it's not because you feel like you failed one interview, or you feel like you've got a terrible GCSE grade in one subject, or I don't know, you feel like you did really bad on an assessment. Actually, that could not affect your chance of getting in at all, because there's other things, and you'll have that opportunity to demonstrate your ability in loads of different ways. So that's my quick answer to that one.
Just to add on to that,
yeah, go ahead.
I would just say that that's not necessarily true for all universities. So, for example, notably Oxford, the other place, as we call it, they put quite a very strong emphasis and weighting on your A levels, and that's their like biggest priority. I don't know exactly what the percentage is, but that's like the most important factor. But yeah, and again, for some other unis that might also be true. But yeah, Cambridge is quite holistic and looks at everything at an equal portion. So
yeah. And yeah, go ahead, Ahmed.
I just wanted to quickly say about applications and things. I'm not sure if it's still the case now, but at least in the year that I applied in, some colleges can ask for extra entry requirements, etc. So I'd say look at that as well when you're applying, just so it doesn't catch you off guard. I know for natural sciences, a couple of colleges asked for applicants to take step 1, and some might have a bit more stringent requirements about what you need to sort of get the general grades in, like they would like the A stars to be in like further maths, for instance. Yeah.
Thanks. I just saw another quick admissions one. For STEM subjects, I heard it isn't good to do a gap year. Is that correct? The answer is it's fine to do a gap year as long as you're making sure that you work out and plan in advance what you're going to do in that gap year, and that they'll look at what you did. If you just spent a year like sitting at home, then obviously that will be less good than if you've gone and to do a year like in industry and you're then going into engineering. So it doesn't mean that they won't consider you if you've been sitting at home for a year. It just means that there's like, if you're going to be doing that, do think carefully about why you're doing it, and that will be consideration. We'll move back onto other questions for students. So for STEM students, so I think that's Aman, Mikkel, Ahmed, there's a weird like gender divide, which yeah, that doesn't mean that men do STEM and women do arts, but anyway, what were your other uni choices other than Cambridge, and why?
Sorry, can I go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. My other uni choices were Bath, because I liked the course and the idea of an industrial year. Manchester is because it's a bit closer and my brother went there. Newcastle, again, I just like the city and the course and the option of an industrial year. I've forgotten my other choices because it's been a while. But
that's fine. Yeah, Aman, did you want to add anything? Do you want to let them know your other choices?
Yeah, so I applied to Imperial, St Andrews, and Edinburgh and Durham. So I applied to Imperial because unlike the natural sciences course at Cambridge, which is quite broad, Imperial offered much more specific courses, and you could go down to certain parts. Like if you know you're interested in something, you can just go directly into that. So I picked theoretical physics for Imperial. In terms of Durham offered another natural sciences course, so that was like my backup, just in case like I wanted something more holistic and didn't manage to get into Cambridge. Edinburgh was because the city is really nice. Like I think this is very diverse, and you know there's lots of things going on. And I think I picked St Andrews because it was again like a very historical town, and I had a good physics department there.
Thanks. While we are talking to you guys, there was another one about STEM supercurricular activities. So I think there was somebody asking what kinds of things to do for engineering, but I know none of you do straight engineering, but I suppose just something STEM supercurricular could be relevant. Yeah, go ahead.
So when I was applying, I didn't know whether to choose engineering or physics. And what I did to sort of like practice in general for those problem solving things is have a look at Isaac Physics. That has lots of, I mean, it might not be engineering related, but it has lots of avenues of practicing what you're going to do here at a degree, sorry, for a degree in Cambridge. And have a look at, I think, Enrich, just get your maths knowledge really well. And you don't have to go to these supercurricular events, but just have an interest and follow that pipeline. Essentially, if you feel like you're interested in something, just follow that through. And talking about those niche topics within your personal statement is what's going to lead you to be a candidate who stands out in the application process.
Thanks. And yeah, Mikkel, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I was just going to say that you can also do lots of extracurriculars that are not at all related to your degree, and those can still help you. Because for me, for example, I did do like, some stuff that was related to STEM, but most of the stuff I did was like in school was things like, choir, theatre, etc. But honestly, that's fine, because like when I wrote my personal statement, I was just like, oh, I did choir, and that's given me good time management skills and etc. So really, any extracurriculars you do, it doesn't really matter so much as long as you can use them to show that they've developed your skills in some way. So for example, something like time management, or for medicine, any kind of role where you're talking to people, or things like building confidence, for example. Basically any activity you can use, and you can put it in your personal statement and sort of word it in a way that makes it look good.
Thanks. Yeah, you've answered the question at the bottom, which was what preparation do you need for medicine to get into Cambridge? I don't know if you wanted to say anything else, but that's kind of led you to.
Yeah, I'll do that as well. For that one, yeah, I mean, pretty much just the standard things. I can't really give you any extra things, but just, the main thing is, because you guys are all in your 12 now, so your GCSEs are done, you can't do anything about that, but do as well as you possibly can in your A-levels, because obviously, whilst the A-levels aren't the main factor, if you don't get the A-levels, then you probably won't get in. So focus on them as much as possible. And then the other thing I would say is, BMAT and UK CAT, which is the medical entry exams, do loads of work for them as much as you can. Obviously also have fun and take breaks and, enjoy your life. But yeah, pretty much those are the two big. And then interview preparation, but again, that's kind of far away at this point, but that'll be nearer to the time.
Ahmed, did you want to say anything related?
I was just going to ask Mikkel, because when you mentioned the choir, that there's someone else who said, do you have to have singing lessons beforehand to be a part of the choir?
Lydia might also be relevant, because I know she's part of the non-auditioned choir as well. So
sure. Again, it really depends on what choir you're in, because there's like over 50 different choirs. Most colleges have their own choir. Like most colleges have a chapel choir basically, and then oftentimes another choir. So Homerton, we have our chapel choir, and then we have another one which you don't have to audition for, and it's just more like lighthearted. And then there are plenty of other things like a cappella groups and various things. In general, no, you don't need to. For some of the really, really big ones, like if you want to sing in like King's College, who are on the radio regularly and etc., then like you probably need to be great at singing. But for most choirs, it doesn't really matter. You need to be able to sing, of course, but you don't necessarily need to have done any grades or have ever had lessons before or anything like that. And a lot of colleges will provide you singing lessons once you join their choir.
Yeah, I joined the Homerton non-auditioned choir when I was a student, and I'm still part of it, and I've done it for 4 years, and I still can't read music. So if that helps.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, it's, well, as Mikhail said, it's not just, we've got the more formal choir where you need sort of to be able to read music. We've got, our other one's called Homerton Singers, and it's nice because it's not just students as well. I think it's quite nice because we've got people from like the surrounding area, just like older people who come and do it too, which I think is really nice, and it sort of pops the uni bubble a bit, because that can get a bit much when you're always with the same sort of ages of people, but it's quite nice to interact with older people as well and get to know them. And yeah, you definitely don't need to know how to read music, because like the guy who's in charge, he always goes through how to sing it and everything. And yeah, at the minute we're doing a bit of Les Mis, a few songs from that, and from Wicked as well. So if you fancy the idea of that, then we've got a sort of we've got the formal sort of singing, and we've also got a bit of musical theatre, more like informal. So we've got a bit of everything, really.
Yeah, thank you. I know that there's people who've been waiting a long time for their questions to be answered. How important are facilitating subjects? Yeah, do you want to, Shala and Vita?
I was just going to say facilitating subjects are really important, and I think their names really tell how important they are. I personally did English, A-level English literature, A-level history and A-level French, and in year 12 and 13 I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. I knew that I wanted to do something related to medieval studies, but again I wasn't really sure. So I think those subjects really helped me to give me that background knowledge and sort of set me up in a really good place. And I think if you look at course descriptions at the university pages, you see subjects that are like required or subjects that are recommended. And usually for the humanities subjects, English, history, maybe a language, are always useful. So I think if you have no clue what you want to do, always go for the facilitating subjects, because they will always help you in some ways.
What Charlotte said is important, but I would also say if you've chosen to do a subject that doesn't, or a couple of subjects that don't get on that facilitating subject list, don't panic and don't think that you can't apply here. You will be learning skills, you'll be learning the analytical skills, and you have the chance to develop your knowledge in areas outside of what you're studying. That's what, super curricular, or just having a brain that's interested in things allows you to do. So don't worry, because I'm guessing if you're in year 12, you kind of already know what you're doing, you know what you're working with. So work towards what you want to be doing, and just check if you're not put in your application yet, which you won't have because it's February. Just have a little check of the colleges and what their requirements are. For example, at this college to study education, I don't think you have to have necessarily taken English, whereas at my particular track, I think, you might have, I can't remember, but in some colleges the requirements are slightly different. And yeah, sorry.
Thanks. Yeah, whichever. Go ahead.
Thanks. I was just going to say, kind of piggybacking off what Vita said, it's really important that you pick a subject that you genuinely do enjoy, and just as a broader conception of like how you're approaching the admissions process, don't think, okay, like this might be the easiest thing to get into, so I'm now deliberately going to pick subjects I might not necessarily like or enjoy because apparently this is what they want. You're going to be doing this degree for at least 3 years, and you want to make sure you're picking a subject that you enjoy enough that when it gets slightly more difficult with deadlines, you can push through because of your genuine passion for the subject. So just be very introspective and like think, what do I genuinely enjoy? What can I see myself doing for a long period of time? And then work that way rather than trying to fit what you want to do into certain things. So for law, for example, there are no subject requirements. A lot of people assume you have to do humanities. Quite a few of my friends did 3 sciences at A-level because that's what they genuinely enjoyed. So it's more about your passion for a subject as opposed to the specific subjects you pick. For humanities, maybe for some it's probably a bit more prescriptive. But yeah, just make sure you're picking subjects you genuinely enjoy.
Thanks. And then Valentina.
Yeah, just adding on to like the whole discussion about A levels, because I think I saw a question that was like, what advice would you give to your year 12 self? And I think I would just say, like, not to stress about also the number of A levels and like the number of extracurriculars that you think you should do, because I know when I was in year 12, I thought everyone at Cambridge has probably done like 15 different A levels and they're, you know, all facilitating subjects. And that's not necessarily the case. I think Lindsay, you can say this, but like, you know, when it comes to admissions, you probably care more about like, you know, doing, you know, a few A levels really well rather than doing like, you know, like 5 different facilitating subjects. So yeah, like Afe was saying, just like be sure to do things that you just really enjoy personally, and like the passion will just naturally follow.
Thanks. Valentina, while you're talking, there were actually 2 questions about English. So one of them is advice for personal statement and written work and the admissions exam and interview. So there's quite a lot there. She says, especially, or they say, sorry, especially as someone who doesn't have access to Oxbridge pathways, so they feel a bit unsure. And then somebody else said, what supercurriculars are useful for English? So they've basically asked you everything about studying English. So feel free to kind of summarize, but you can also type as well if like, yeah, if you want to add more after.
Yeah, ooh, let's see if I can connect that. I think so I personally think when it comes to humanities in general, the personal statement is fairly important, especially when it comes to the interview, because they will generally ask you questions based on your personal statement because they want to ask you things that you know about. So when writing that, I would just recommend like just write about things that you do genuinely like and know about, instead of like, you know, maybe just writing about things that you think look impressive. I know like when I was doing my first draft, I was like writing like, oh yes, I've read Macbeth and King Lear and all these like, you know, impressive texts. And then on my second draft, I was like, okay, yeah, I do want to, you know, include that, but also include things that maybe are a bit more niche, but like I'm personally interested in. So when the question does come, I'm able to like naturally expand on those things and just show my passion for the subject. I think like it's a bit like, you know, stereotypical, but yeah, I do think passion for the subject is like the most important things in like in any application. So yeah, I think just allow yourself the room to, you know, talk about what you specifically are interested in, because, you know, it's a big subject. There's a lot of time periods. Just, yeah.
Just having been interviewed by someone who also supervises English students, and I take an English paper, so I know they're looking for similar things. I just wanted to also add that to support Valentina's point of don't be thinking I have to have read the most impressive thing. I have to have read all the pages of one of the great massive Russian novels. You don't. I wrote about a graphic novel on my personal statement, and I talked a bit about a play I saw at my local theatre. As I know I study English and drama, but I do know that drama is important to the in the English paper I'm taking at the moment. If you like look up local theatres, they often have really good if you're in a city, they have good discounts for young people, £5 for a ticket, and it's just a chance to kind of engage with the text in a different way.
Thank you. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, whilst I'm answering a question, could I just respond to the question about expectations for disabled students?
Yeah, go ahead.
The academic expectations will be the same in that you will sit the same exams and the standards of success are the same. Everyone is assessed fairly, but I will just briefly talk about my experience, which is that I live with a dynamic disability, so I'm able to manage changes very regularly, and I really appreciate the flexibility of the Cambridge system. At least as a humanities student, what I find is that I have direct contact with my supervisors and I can rearrange something if I'm unwell. And I have done that, and I do that. In terms of the specific supports that I need, and I would say in terms of expectations, don't think so much about whether the standards are the same, but actually what supports you need to meet those standards is maybe more a useful way of thinking about it. So I have a student support document, and that's something that disabled students will often be able to get, which basically lists what my needs are and kind of gives supervisors a sense of what I might struggle with. So for example, I've arranged with supervisors to verbally plan an essay before writing it, as opposed to just talking about it afterwards, or submitting a plan on a week where I've had a difficult time doing work. And that's the same with when life happens. It's not just for disabled students, but there's flexibility built into the system for if you're having a rough time, that, you know, sometimes you will need to submit an essay plan instead of a full essay. Also, I'd say that having a strong relationship with your tutor is really helpful, and you don't just have to see them at the start or end of term, but I check in with my tutor quite regularly, and that means that any questions my supervisors have about, you know, I'm saying, I'm sorry, I can't do this essay this week. I'm like, please just ask my tutor. You don't need, you know, you can maintain a level of medical privacy and save yourself the administrative burden of that, and redirect those questions.
Yeah, did anyone else want to add to the, Aman?
So just following on from what Vita said, so I have ADHD, and some of the support that the university offers for people who are neurodivergent is they have something called a study skills session. And what they do is they sit you down every week, I mean as frequently as you like, and they would basically just try and help you better manage your organization. So if you have a degree which is very contact heavy, you know, a lot of contact hours, or even if you need to just have a schedule to drive yourself to write that essay or to sort out your supervision work, these people, there are resources available for you to sort of sit down with someone and get that specialist help that you need. And then after a while, you will find yourself, you know, learning better and learning these skills to help you stay focused being a neurodivergent student here at Cambridge.
And Ahmed?
Yeah, just very quick addition because I realized time. Also, as someone who has a lot of contact hours and deals with a lot of physical issues in terms of, I have MS, and so walking and things are a bit harder for me. It is quite flexible here, at least for my subject. I have access to online lectures. My supervisor is generally flexible to have a supervision online or anything, and it does help a lot as well. And you have lots of different modes of support here. So like I said before, DSA funding for taxis and things like that, but also you have exam arrangements and things, so you're really not disadvantaged at all based on your disability. And if you feel like you are, or if you need something in place to help you better study here, you can always talk to your tutor or disabled students officer or things like that, and they will help make sure that you have that in place so that you don't have any disadvantage at all. Yeah.
Thank you. I saw 2 questions about why Cambridge over Oxford. If anybody here kind of hesitated with Oxford, do you want to say why Cambridge? Looks like no one hesitated. Oh, okay, go ahead.
I mean, personally for me, the course was the biggest factor. As I mentioned before, ASNAC is only offered at Cambridge, so I really knew that if I wanted to study this course, I had to apply to Cambridge, whereas Oxford, I think, offered something similar, like ancient history. So I think it really depends on what you want to do. And I think also you sort of have to think about it on how close to your home is. For example, I come from London, and London is close to both Oxford and Cambridge, but so it didn't really make a difference there. But I think really think about your course and what differences each course has. I know that sometimes they are very minimal, but other times there are vast number of differences, and just completely different courses too. So I think really make sure to check that before you apply.
Thanks. And Wilke?
Mine was a very similar reason. It was because of course. So law at Oxford is called jurisprudence. So it takes a lot more of a philosophical approach to the study of law. And similarly, because of how it's taught, the way in which they're examined is different. So it's 100% third year in Oxford, but in Cambridge it's 50% second year, 50% third year. And I'm just someone who couldn't deal with all of that pressure in 1 year. So I think looking at the substance of your course and also how it's structured and how it's examined is quite important, because some courses, or some universities, and Oxford more specifically, had compulsory courses that were outside of like the foundation ones you have to do for law, and those were ones that I just wasn't interested in at all. So yeah, just have a look on the website of any university more generally about their course structure, how it's examined, and whether you think you can sort of cope with how it's assessed.
And Mikhail?
Sorry, I was just answering a question in the chat. So yeah, so one of the questions was also about what was it? It was like, yeah, how do you choose between the two if the courses are similar? And I would say to that, so firstly, yeah, the primary consideration always should be the structure of the course. And that's not even just between Oxford and Cambridge, you know, if there's another university that's not Oxbridge, that where the course is better for you personally, then do that, because what matters most is that you enjoy the degree. And also, you know, it's, if you enjoy the degree, you're more likely to get a better grade as well, and that's going to be more important in the long term than if you go to Cambridge and then do really badly because you hate the content of the specific course. But what I would say in terms of non-academic things, for me, for example, it was the city. So I went to see both before I started uni, and I would recommend doing that if you're in the UK and have the ability to travel and are able to do that. Personally, I just really hate Oxford. It's really, really busy. And also I think like for disability reasons as well, it's like very busy, quite a lot of traffic and things like that. Whereas I feel like Cambridge is a bit more, there's a lot more nature, it's a bit more calm and peaceful and things like that. And so for me, it feels a bit safer. But then also other important factors are things like, you know, what are the kind of colleges like, and like, are there certain colleges that you like at a specific college that you really, really like, or things like the facilities that a college offers, or what extracurricular things are available, like theatre or like sports or whatever. So yeah, of course is most important, but if they're exactly the same, then have a look at the other things and walk around, and yeah.
Thanks. There is a question for Aman. How did you decide between engineering and physics?
So this is somewhat twofold. Initially, I thought that the main difference with engineering and physics is one is much more applied and one is much more theoretical. And obviously there is a lot of overlap between the two topics. But what I quite liked about physics over engineering was like how fundamental you go. So obviously with engineering, you will still have that physical knowledge. But if you have that drive to sort of delve deeper and really get to know your subject to the fundamental core, and that's where physics comes in. So like understanding the reality around you, how everything works. And I found that for me, that was personally more like beneficial. But if you're an engineer, if you want to be applied, if you want to get into the field, and if you want to see how physics can have an implication in the real world, that's why you should pick engineering. But mainly it was because I watched the show The Big Bang Theory, and they said engineering wasn't as good as physics. So that's why I was like, oh, let's do physics then. So.
And Ahmed?
I just want to add on that as somebody who chose chemical engineering over physics. I did natural sciences in my first year, but that's not the same anymore for chemical engineering. But I sort of felt like I had learned a lot of the fundamentals of physics, and it was quite interesting to learn how things like that actually become applicable in sort of the real world and things, how you make that jump from, you know, everything that you learn on such like a small scale or like such a large thing, how that becomes applicable to all the things that you see every day in the world, and putting those like fundamental thermodynamics and fluid mechanics and things like that to use. Yeah.
Thanks. Before we end this webinar, because I know it's just 3 minutes past 6, there's a question that's still in the chat. It happens to be just there, even though it has been a little bit answered. But I thought it could be a nice thing to end on. If everyone here could give one piece of advice that they would like to give to the students who are attending here today. So anyone who's ready, feel free to go.
You have more time than you think you do. in terms of understanding the subject. By the end of year 12, I was like, I don't understand this thing, or I don't feel like I could get an A star in this subject. And I was wrong. I had more time than I knew. Don't write yourself off and take rest when you need.
Thanks. And Lucy?
Don't stress about it. It will all be fine. And also, don't think that there's absolutely no chance that you're going to get in, and so don't let that stop you from applying, because honestly, you could still get in even if you don't think you will. And what's the worst thing they're going to do? They're going to like reject you, but that's not so bad. Honestly, just give it a go, because you never know.
Oh, thank you. And Ahmed?
Enjoy studying your subjects. Really just focus on actually liking the A-levels that you chose and finding what it is that you like the most, so that you all have like a good idea of what you want to do at university, and it's just a lot more relaxing to enjoy your subject rather than view them as something you have to do.
Thank you. And Shala?
I would say choose something that you're truly passionate about. Don't choose a course just because your friends are doing it or you think it's going to be beneficial. Obviously, think about that, but go with your heart and what your true passion is.
Oh, thanks. And Anna?
Not to be pessimistic, but a lot of people obviously do get rejected, but if in the instance I got rejected from Oxford, so if in the instance that you were to get rejected from any uni, it doesn't have to be Oxbridge, but any uni, don't take that as a, judgment on your character or your intellect. Granted, I reapplied and I applied to Cambridge and I happened to get in, but I could have easily have gone elsewhere. And you just have to remember that you're like brilliant and you've come this far. The fact you're even thinking of Cambridge, clearly you're, interested in having these kind of conversations and things. So yeah, woo.
Thank you. And Afoke?
You will find your people. I think one of the biggest things I was a bit anxious about is like I knew that type of environment I came from, and like I was friends with quite a few people in my school, so I thought the shift here would be a lot more sort of difficult, but you will genuinely meet your people. There's such just a large student body population. You're not going to be friends with everyone, but I can wholeheartedly say like I've met some of my best friends here, and it just makes the degree so much more bearable. So just, yeah, be excited to meet a new group of people that you might not necessarily have thought of before.
Oh, thank you. And Aman?
So at the moment you're going to be learning a lot of different things, and you're going to be like, obviously your interest may be spiked, or maybe you're really focused on what you want. But once you get to university and the content that you learn and the sort of depth in which you know things is so much more profound. And I think it's really it's really inspiring. Like it's just really fulfilling to like know your subject so well that someone who can, by the end of your degree, can come up to you and ask for you for like advice on really niche things. I think just really hone those skills and really focus on what you want to do in life, and you're going to be successful no matter what.
Well, thank you. And Lydia? Oh, you're muted. Don't worry.
Sorry. Yeah, I was just gonna say, linked to what Vita said, that not like normally even though offers have already come out, I didn't think of that for year 13s, but just like you've got a lot of time between like you've just started A-levels basically to uni, and or like to thinking about uni anyway, so just like it's good that you're already thinking about it and that you're already interested. It shows that it's something that you could be excited about, which is really good. But yeah, you've got loads of time, and try and speak to students, like, because I know we've got Homerton specifically, we've got this uni buddy platform which is on our website, and a few of us who are here are on it, who you can speak to about anything you wanted. So yeah, we don't normally get many messages, so I just think it'd be quite a good way to advertise that, because it's always useful to get answers to your questions. Yeah, for us, it's basically just like use the opportunity to learn about what different unis would be like to make sure that it's a good fit for you. Yeah.
Thank you. And Valentina, I don't want to put you on the spot, but did you have anything you wanted to add?
Just, you know, work hard on your exams, but they're not the end all and be all of everything. Have a break. It'll be fine. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Okay, well, thanks so much to all of our amazing students who've joined us today. I know some of them had to leave early, but yeah, we've had loads of students and they've given you amazing contributions and have let you know what it's like to be students at university. So I hope that was helpful to all of you. And I will see you for the next session of the Access course next Monday. Thank you. Goodbye.